So, all right, guys, how you doing? My name is Rowlands, as you all know. I'm sure you've heard that enough these days. I'm a nutritional balancing practitioner, and as I mentioned on my last testimonial, what I wanted to do is to get more people on the channel to talk about their testimonials, because obviously I don't think it's much use me providing all this information on YouTube without seeing some results of some of the people on nutritional balancing program. So today we have Austin Norlin.
Hi,
Hi, Austin.
everyone.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Lewis. Thanks for having me on.
No
Um,
worries, man. So Austin's been on the program for a while. Some of his main symptoms were very similar to mine: derealization, depersonalization, poor circulation, poor focus, racing mind. You know, everything that most of you guys have probably got while you're watching the channel. So what I'm going to do is, this is a live testimonial. So if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat section on the YouTube page, and we'll get around to answer them at the end. But yeah, for now, Austin, take it away. Just tell us a little bit about your history, you know, your health problems, how you got into the situation, and then how you kind of found nutritional balancing and how nutritional balancing has helped you so far.
Sounds good. So I'm from Watoma, Wisconsin, and currently living in Salt Lake City, Utah. And um, growing up, I was born a triplet of three, and I always had digestive problems and poor like ADHD symptoms growing up. Just couldn't focus, couldn't concentrate in school,
Mm.
and um, over the years, it kind of progressed with my digestive health got worse and my schooling got worse as well. And by the time I was in high school, I had quite a few symptoms that I didn't think were necessarily things that I could change or things that I just thought that was just who I was.
Mm.
So I just dealt with them. And right after high school, I got diagnosed with Lyme disease. Um, and that's when my health took a turn for the worst. I um, had no energy, poor concentration, derealization, depersonalization, and it led me on this path of um, I went the conventional route from doctor to doctor, took handfuls of antibiotics, and my health actually became a lot worse. And I almost died at one point because I was so sick. My digestion was so bad, and I was so weak and frail. So that led me down a path to alternative routes. So went, I read everything there is to know about alternative healing and stuff. I did acupuncture. Um, I tried a raw vegan diet, a vegan diet, a plant
Yeah.
based diet, and did all sorts of different therapies. Went to clinics in Kansas City, um, in Wichita, Kansas, to help my body heal, and nothing was really working. And I had symptom relief in some things that I've tried, but there was never something that really brought back the energy and vitality that I was looking for. And this was throughout probably a 4 or 5 year process. And then I
Mm.
finally found Dr. Lawrence Wilson's website, and saw some of the therapies on there. So I bought a near infrared sauna, and I started
Mm.
doing the near infrared saunas without following the other things on the site. And I noticed some actually symptom relief on some of my, I felt more grounded and more stable in my body when I first started using those. And so I continued to use those. And then I found the coffee enemas, which I've been doing those for a
How old
while.
was
And
you
then
when you first found Dr. Wilson's website?
Probably around 22 years, 22 or 23.
22. And you
So,
said that your health symptoms have been going off for about 5 years. So we're
yep,
talking
yep,
around 16, 17.
yep.
Um,
16, 17 is when I got really sick. And
yeah. What, what,
so
what, 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 what was you searching for to find
um,
Dr. Wilson's website? Can you remember?
I was searching for like just alternative therapies to like natural therapies. I heard about coffee enemas, and then I Googled coffee enema search, which is funny, but
Yeah.
at first as a as a young 20-year-old kid to Google that, but I and that's what site came up, and I started reading, and then I started reading a lot of the articles on there, and I was like, wow, this kind of makes sense. Some of the some what he was talking about. I
Mm,
forgot the articles that I read, but a
mm,
lot of it made sense to me. But I didn't ever go through with the program till about a year ago. But it's funny to think that 4 years back, before even knowing that I was going to get on the program, um, I was a little bit familiar with Dr. Wilson. So
mm. Cool. So yeah, you found the program, and yeah, tell us what happened once you kind of started that
yeah, so I
avenue.
after trying a lot of different therapies and other protocols, I to be honest, I wasn't too optimistic, but I just wanted to give it a shot just to see what I felt. And within the first couple months of starting the program, I had a noticeable increase in my energy, and my mind started to calm down, and I just felt more stable and warm in my body, something that I haven't felt for a long time. I um and that from that 2 month mark to where I am now, almost a year or maybe a little over a year into the program, I it's night and day difference. Like I have much more vitality, and I have this energy where um, I want to be active, and I want to I'm not just fatigued all the time or looking forward to resting, because I have um, more life to me. So it's been
Yeah,
it's been a long process. I've had some ups and downs in this year, and I know that I'm still pretty new to the program as far as other people go. But the progress that I've seen in this year has really been motivating for me to stick with it, because I know most of the things that I've tried in the past never gave me the results of which I'm getting now. So
yeah. Why don't you tell people the list of symptoms that you was kind of having before
okay.
starting the program, and maybe discuss what symptoms have disappeared, which ones have improving.
Yeah,
That would
for
be
sure.
useful.
So the main ones are the depersonalization and the derealization.
Was
And
that
then I
was
had,
that did that start like when you were 70? Was that the
yeah,
main
yep,
thing that kind
yep.
of
That was like
started?
the main thing that just like triggered at like that antibiotic Lyme disease whole storm that happened. And
Was it like was you going through a really stressful period and then all of a sudden it came on, or was it like a
yep,
gradual thing?
it was a stressful period, and then all of a sudden it was instantaneous. I woke up. It was like I remember the night it happened, and from that one night till on, that's when it was almost like a switch flipped, and I had this um, extreme depersonalization, derealization, which um, was more shocking that it happened so fast than over. I think I was able to be aware of it over it happening slowly, over gradually. I think that
Mm,
it let me be aware of it. So I happened one night, and then from that point on, I had this couldn't focus, was couldn't my socially I wasn't wanting to be around people or talk to people like I had used to, um, and but I after this year I've noticed so much improvement in that area, and I my mind is much more clear, and um, I feel like I'm coming back to life. So that's like a main one of the biggest benefits I've seen so far working with the program. But
awesome.
otherwise, some of the other minor things like the digestive health, something I struggled with my whole life. No discomfort, no bloating, no um, uh, nothing. Everything that I eat just seems to go right through and in a very calm manner. And
That's how it should be, man.
yeah, and so I just remember I used to, even when I was eating healthy food, like um a plant-based diet, I just remember after every meal I would just feel so uncomfortable and so just like with a stomach ache, and it would take an hour or two just to like for me to get back to be able to function, because I was so um it was so debilitating. But now I don't have any issues. I can eat a big meal and be totally good to go. And so,
Awesome, man.
and
Cool.
then cold is another thing. And cold, I could never handle cold in this past like 5 or 6 years. I was, even in the summertime, it could be 80 degrees. I had to be bundled up and um like
Oh man, yeah.
warm. I and that was frustrating because we lived on a lake and being outside in the sun all the time, and it just didn't make sense. But the past year and a half, I feel warm again, and I have this like um, uh, more warmth in my body that I don't get cold as easily, not even close. So that's something that really has
Yeah,
been
man.
noticeable as
Awesome.
well.
I had the same issue, man. I was cold all the time, even in the summer. Like I was absolutely freezing. And
Yeah.
now, like, yeah, I mean, not only do I feel warm, but there's been times when I've been around other people, friends and family, and they're like really cold, and I'm like, man, like I'm not like really warm, like uncomfortable. I'm like I'm not. It's not even on my mind that it's cold,
Yeah.
and it's just
Yeah.
it's one of the things that I really has made me really aware is how cold other people are, in
Yeah.
general. Like I thought that I was super cold, but actually the vast majority of the population are pretty cold. The amount of times when I'll just like brush someone or grab someone's hand and it'll be freezing cold and they're like, whoa,
Oh
you're
yeah.
really warm. And I'm like, well, this is normality. Like, it's absolutely fine. But yeah, it's a really common symptom, the coldness. And yeah, it's super frustrating, especially in summer.
Oh
Like, why am I
yeah.
cold? It's summertime.
Yeah, that's true. But that's something that I thought was pretty minor at the time, but man, it it's good in the, I mean, think about it in the winter time too. Like I live in a colder climate, and I I just don't know how you can be outside with if you can't handle the cold.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So cool. So yeah, so you got derealization, circulation. You said that you had poor focus. A lot of people have poor focus. In how has that
yeah,
improved?
poor focus. I just remember I growing up I couldn't really, I always knew I was intelligent, but I really couldn't read because I just could not focus on like um when I was reading books, and I couldn't comprehend anything, and it would be really frustrating because I knew I wasn't stupid. It was just I couldn't get my mind to stay focused. But in this past year, um I've I think one of the biggest things that's helped with that is um the eliminating all the sugar that in the diet, and doing the pushing down exercise really seemed to bring my mind back, and more focus back to myself. And but now my focus is probably better than it's been most of my life. So
Awesome,
um,
man. Cool,
yeah.
cool. And how about like struggles with the program? Because we all know
um,
how difficult it is to go through various different things and going through healing reactions and even becoming more aware, even more spiritually aware. I probably don't have to ask you whether you had them or not. I'm fairly confident you had some sort of difficulties. So why don't you
yeah.
talk about like maybe some of the difficulties in the beginning and how you got through them?
Yeah, I'd say the main ones are probably, the main one is rest, putting yourself down. Like that, I think that's underrated as far as how challenging that is for even a sick person to put themselves down and turn your mind into that rest mode, because I think a lot of times I felt guilty if it was a nice day, or if friends were doing something, or family was doing something, and was like, no, I'm just gonna stay back and rest, or I think that's a really big one for me. But over the last year or so, that's gotten easier for me to just say, like, I just need my time, and kind of set my time aside. And with my increased energy, I can do more things, but I also have to make that time for myself so that um, I don't burn the candle too much.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I think people need to realize that on one level, we're actually designed to work and be of service. I mean, that's what we're here for. If we weren't here to do that, we would just be a brain, on wheels.
Yeah.
That's, we are here to be of service. And, Dr. Wilson even talks about in his articles, when you are well, you should be aiming to be working all the time.
Right.
Working as in, working on yourself, being of service to other people, spreading love, all that kind of stuff. What people need to realize is that it's, in a way, it's natural to want to do stuff, but we've been brought up in this unhealthy way of doing things. And, the junk food, the lifestyles, the alcohol, the drugs, the smoking, that's basically created a vehicle that no longer can work properly and function. And in a way,
Right.
it's a little bit of a blessing in disguise, because it means that you've got to learn how to rest and just be calm and
Oh,
rebuild
for
and
sure.
re-nourish. And it's actually through that re-nourishment and that calmness and that learning to rest in a healthy way, where you start to see things from a different perspective, give yourself time to rest and rejuvenate, and then prepare yourself for your future endeavors, which is moving into the world in a much more wholesome mindset and a much more wholesome way of being, and doing things in the world. And that's really what people need to understand. Having a healthy, happy life isn't just about doing nothing. It's, you feel like that. I know I felt like in the beginning. I'm like, oh my god, for me to have a healthy life, I just need to do nothing. And I kind of taught myself to do nothing, and I did. It was difficult in the
Yeah.
beginning because I was super guilty, and I wanted to do stuff. But after a while, once you get that energy back, I remember a period where I got the energy back, and I'm like, all right, well, what do I do now? I remember when I had energy like this when I was 15, but I used that energy to go and do silly things, to go out drinking, to do drugs. And it's
Right.
like, all right, well, what do I do now with this energy? And it's about refocusing it in a really healthy manner.
Right.
Maybe you can talk a little bit about that. I mean, what do you do for a job now? Have you changed your job? Have
Yeah.
you become more spiritually oriented? Are you more focused on service? Are you more focused on, what you want to
Yeah.
give to the world?
For sure. So, uh, growing up, I was a big extreme sports guy, like snowboarding, wakeboarding, and just kind of those adrenaline driven sports. And when I was sick, I obviously couldn't do those things. But now, last winter and this summer, I've been back wakeboarding and snowboarding. And but I try to be a little bit more balanced as far as not burning myself out, because those sports I know are um, prone to do that. But I feel like I have the energy to do those things again, and those are things that I love to do, so I don't want to totally give those up. I like
Yeah.
that's part of who I was. So I
Mm,
like to continue to do those things, but in a more balanced way. And also, I um, work a job now with 16 and 17-year-old boys who are involved with substance abuse, and um, that is a pretty high stress job in
mm.
itself. But I have the energy to do it, and I know that a year ago, 2 years ago, I couldn't possibly keep up with some of the situations that happen while working with these boys. So that's motivating too, and encouraging.
Nice one,
So
man. Let's
yeah.
just go back a little bit and talk about a little bit more about healing reactions. What sort of
Oh yeah.
stuff came up for you?
Um. Yeah. So healing reactions. I remember some periods of I just extreme fatigue. I felt fatigue most of my um recovery, but I noticed like there's a couple weeks to a month at the beginning where I just like could not force myself to go for a walk or get outside, or I just had to shut my body off. And then after that month mark of being on the program, it seemed like I kind of started to come out of that. And I don't know what exactly was happening. It's always hard to tell if it's a healing reaction, but I think that that was probably one of the main things that I've noticed. As far as like acute reactions, I haven't really had too many of those. I just notice at times I'll be a little bit more fatigued, or at times I'll be like a little more frustrated, or but nothing really like acute, like some people experience like these um, sinus infections or these retracing symptoms. That uh, mine are more so just like the fatigue sets in,
All right.
and so that's what I've noticed. But other as far as like discomfort and retracing, it hasn't been too severe.
Cool,
So,
cool. What advice would you give to anyone who's maybe skeptical about nutritional balancing, or, if you could go back to your 17-year-old self and someone like
oh
Dr. Wilson came
yeah,
to you, or someone, you watch my YouTube channel, like, what advice would you give to other people about the program? Because a lot of people are wondering which route to take, and
yeah,
obviously
wow,
I'm very passionate about the program. I'm sure you've kind
yeah.
of got a lot of respect for it. So yeah, what would you say to your 17-year-old self?
Oh man, if I could have started this at 17 years old, that would have been I'd be so happy. But no, I think the main thing is keep an open mind, and but be consistent. Don't give up after when you try a new protocol. I say you have to give it a year. You can't give it a month or 2 months and then move on to the next one. I think this one specifically, it probably takes more time to get results than or to get lasting results than maybe some other symptom relief programs. But this is a true healing, and I think that it's something you need to give yourself a year or two at minimum just to see, um, make note of the differences that you experience in those 2 years. Don't just check it off the list after 3 months, because chances are after those 3 months, that's when you're starting to really eliminate things and turn your body on, and that's when you start to deal with maybe some of those retracing symptoms that make you want to stop the program. So give it, be consistent, and give it time, because um, that's your um, that's how you're going to know if the program's working for you.
Awesome, man.
So.
And you planning on sticking with the program? Do you
Oh,
are you
absolutely.
aware of the more kind of, are you interested in the development side of things, or for you is it just a case of managing your symptoms? Like, what's the forward kind of thinking for you at the
I
moment?
No, I want to see where, as far as I do the pushing down exercise, but as far as like the development part of the program goes, like physically, I can feel my body getting much stronger, and my mind calming down. And as far as being grounded and being a part of things again, like spiritually, like I feel more connected than I have in years past. But as far as development goes, I know that I'm not too far um, uh, along the path um, of development, and um, I know that I'm not too aware of where I'm at as far as that goes, but I'm curious to see what it'll bring in a couple of years, 2 or 3
Yeah,
years.
it's an interesting concept, development. I think, at the end of the day, development just means to become a very wholesome human being in a lot of the ways.
Yeah,
Development has a lot to do with building character and maturity and learning when to say no and having patience and
yeah,
kindness and love. That's all part of development, as well as purifying the body, where you get just hidden abilities. You know, it's not turning
Yeah.
anyone into a superhero per se. It's just, in many ways, it's trying to, you know, Jesus was a developed person in the sense that he was a
Yeah.
very well-rounded person. Yeah, he had, you know, very special abilities. That's not
Yeah.
really what it's all about. It's just about being a wholesome, integral person, you know, and
Right.
that's kind of what the nutrition balancing program does in many ways, because it learns you to be willful. It learns you to be strong. It learns you to have gratitude for your health. It learns you to have compassion towards other people, you know, and all these kind of abilities and stuff. So really just following the program makes you a developed person by default. You know, a lot of people think, you know, development means, you know, you're going to turn into Superman or Batman.
Yeah. No.
In many
No, I
ways,
don't expect
you
that.
do, but it's a very different kind of integral form.
Right. And I think like as far as like development goes, like that I've known, like I think my mind is much more calm, and I think that's maybe a start of but some of the things that you've talked about in your videos, I know that I guess I would assume that I'm pretty entry level to the like the developmental process. I don't know. I
I
don't know.
think
You talk about these things like you've experienced, like I know in some of your videos like you've experienced these different states, and I haven't experienced, and maybe it's different for everybody, but I haven't experienced a lot of the things that you're talking about. And
yeah, I mean, I think sometimes when you I mean, I was really extremely ill. And think sometimes, you know, when you've got really extreme copper toxicity, it can like enlighten, you know, it can bring out these overwhelming experiences that someone who's a little bit more grounded and not as sick don't really experience. It doesn't really mean that I'm any different to other people. You know, I had so much copper that, you know, copper is a spiritual mineral, and when it's really high, you can get like detachment from reality, and in terms of spiritual detachment and, you know,
right,
schizophrenia, which opens you up to different entities and stuff. So, you know,
right,
I think some of my symptoms in the beginning, especially, probably was more to do with that. But I mean, I've been doing this now for 7 years, so I've been doing the pushing down exercise pretty much for 7 years. So, you know,
yeah,
for me, um, yeah, yeah, I mean, I've spoke about them in my videos and stuff, but
yeah.
I
If you
think
don't
what I
mind,
was trying to put across is that you understand how important it is to stick to something like this, because
oh yeah,
it's not about doing a program and then going back to where you was
oh
before. It's
absolutely
doing the
not. No,
program and realizing that, you know, this is something that you really need to stick to. It's a path of like deep healing, and it keeps you safe in many ways.
yeah, no, and that's the longer I'm on the program, the more I want to continue to do so. And I've always been interested in health, but if there's something that can also develop your spiritual side and um, and your physical body, I'm all for it. Um, if we could just talk just for a second on the pushing down exercise, I
Yeah, sure.
I I do it. I do it consistently, and I for probably an hour a day or so. But I still am yet to like. I don't notice a whole lot uh, while doing the exercise. I don't know if it took. Did it take you a long time to before you like felt the energy moving through your body, or did it because for me I don't feel like I've sometimes like more so than others, but I don't necessarily feel the energy moving through my body all the time. And I don't know if you could talk on that.
Yeah, I mean, it works differently for a lot of people. Um, I mean, I think I was one of the fortunate ones where, you know, I could feel it from the beginning, from the very beginning. It took me a while to make it directional. But I think the point is the visualization often is just as important as actually feeling it.
Yeah,
You know, there could be a theory out there. I mean, maybe I need to speak to Dr. Wilson, that people that maybe are a little less toxic, a little more relaxed, you know, maybe the energy just runs through much easier than other people.
yeah,
But I think the idea is the visualization is what's really important. So just keep on doing it. And,
Okay.
just having that visualization, it's a little bit like affirmation, that you can see it running through your body. And I think that's the most important thing. I wish I was in a position where I didn't feel it in the beginning, so I could turn around to you guys and say, well, this is actually when I started to feel it. But, weirdly enough, like I usually have a good answer for all the other stuff, because I'm like, yeah, I had that. But for me, like, I could feel it in the beginning. So, I think a lot of people, like, I don't know if you can feel your fingers tingling when you
Oh
concentrate on.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so that's
Feel
a sign that energy's running through the body, so that something's happening. That is, chi energy on the edge of the fingertip and on the
yeah.
edge of the fingertips when it's coming down. But I think the trick is just to keep doing the program.
Yeah.
That you're not going wrong really if you just keep doing it.
For sure.
Don't worry about these. It doesn't feel very nice anyway.
Yeah.
It gets quite overwhelming sometimes, but I'm sure it'll come at some point.
Awesome.
Anyway, let's see if we've got any questions. I don't think there's some people asking questions, but I don't think it's related to what you're going through at the moment, Austin. Maybe you could chip in. Let's see what we've got. Is nutritional balancing appropriate when going through sleeping pill withdrawal? Yes, I'm not going to go into it too much. This is a testimonial, but yeah, if you want to get in touch, if you want me to talk about that. Some people saying they also feel guilty all the time when they rest. I think a lot of people feel guilty when they rest. It's a real common symptom. I did a video on it 2 weeks back about, I think it's called fears of slowing down.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you saw that one, Austin, but
Yeah,
if
I
you
did.
guys out there who want to check out my YouTube channel,
I
there's
know
a
it's funny on that subject. On a rainy day, you feel I loved, especially when I was really sick. I loved rainy days because then I could almost like turn my mind off, and it would be okay that I'm rested. I would feel a lot less guilty if it was like a bad weather day outside, because then I'd feel okay. I can um, no guilt. I can shut my mind off and rest.
yeah, the pushing down
So
exercise. Once you get past that initial, I don't know what I'm doing, confusion, you actually start to really enjoy it. Like, it's a real blessing to have the mind just switch off for an
yeah,
hour or 2 hours per day. A lot, I used to read books, read Dr. Wilson's article, watch YouTube videos, if you're ill. I mean,
yeah,
it's not a bad thing if you're learning while resting. I mean, it makes you feel a little less guilty. Obviously the meditation's really good. And when I was struggling a lot, I used to listen to funny podcasts. In many ways, that's still being productive. If you're feeling bad and you're feeling tired and fatigued, you listening to a bit of humor, like, that's actually quite positive. It lifts your spirits a little
yeah,
bit. There's
for
a
sure.
there's a really funny podcast in England. You might know about Ricky Gervais in America, but he did a podcast with this guy called Carl Pilkington, and it's hilarious. For me, I find it hilarious, and I used to I used to listen to it all the time when I was going through like my serious healing modalities. So it's don't feel guilty. You need to realize the reason why you feel guilty is because society and your parents and your teachers have made you feel guilty.
Right.
Look at all the other animals in the animal kingdom, man. They're chilled out for the majority of the time. It's
Right.
only us that
Right.
are not, and we're not. We are different in many ways, but we're not different in terms of our physical needs and our mental needs and
Right.
emotional needs. In terms of, and if you get out in nature and go and camp out sometimes, you'll feel nature's time. It's so much more slower than what we're going through at the moment.
Yeah.
So please don't
Yeah.
be.
For sure.
Oh, we got a question for you, Austin. Any books? Have you read any books that have helped you on your journey?
Um, I've read a lot of books. But let me think. I read a lot of different health books, and one that I don't really have one that totally sticks out. Um, I also read a lot of articles too. So as far as like a sole book to, um, I
Or
can't
maybe
have.
maybe something that's, Dr. Wilson's articles inspired you, but maybe
Oh
another
yeah,
person who's inspired you, or a video that maybe that you brought you out of a bad time, or maybe a funny podcast that you kind of listened to in the past?
Oh yeah. So Lewis's videos, his one video, we talked about it the other day about you when you're walking outside, um, and it was like your depersonalization video that you were so detailed, and um, that you were describing your own experience, and it was so similar to mine, and it just like it like sparked hope that I could come back from some of that detachment and depersonalization that I was experiencing along the way. But as far as other books go, or podcasts, I've read so much that I can't think of one thing that totally stands out, but um, uh, Dr. Wilson's articles also really resonate with me too. So, but I can't
Cool.
think of a thing. Yeah, one that just like the holy grail of books, or
Well, I think
I
Dr.
can't think.
Wilson's website for me was the holy grail.
Yeah, I mean, there's everything on there. There's the
You
the
know,
spiritual side of things, and there's the physical side of things. There's the health side of things.
I
The
mean, in many
lifestyle.
ways,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. There's so many different subjects there: economics, politics.
yeah,
It's a really well-rounded website. I mean, in many ways, I haven't got any new information for anyone on this YouTube channel. I'm basically a messenger boy, for Dr. Wilson, and I get
yeah,
most of the information from him. But I just put my own experience on it, and my own, yeah, that's it. I just basically speak about his articles, but just tell people my own experience. Like nothing's new really on this channel.
yeah. I know
Uh,
that,
how
and
long
that
did it
was
take you to get out of? Go say that again.
oh, and that's one thing that was interesting to me. Like, Dr. Wilson's protocol is so precise. It's like so precise, but he's it's weird because everything that he's said, well, a lot of things that he's said in his articles have came true in my life, even though it seems kind of out there, like some of the therapies and some of the pushing down exercise and eating the diet, it and taking the supplements, to me, like some of it didn't even make sense at first, but almost as what I read in the articles, a lot of the things that I've read in the articles while starting the program just naturally started to fall into line and um, happen in the way that he was describing. So um, I don't know if you can relate to that, but
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty astounding how what Dr. Wilson has talked about is comes true, and not only for my physical things, my mental things, and in relationships as well. I've had periods now where I've been in relationships on the program, and his articles on relationships have been really enlightening for me as well. So in many
yeah,
ways, it's like it's I don't want to give any offense to Christians, but it's a little bit like a modern day Bible for the modern
yeah,
day living. It's
yeah,
like
no,
the Bible's great. You read the Bible, you read Dr. Wilson's article, you kind of merge them together, and you've
yeah,
got a good platform for really like moving forwards in your life. Like it's really beautiful, and it's the reason why I do. I would not do any of this if none of it was true. Like I would just be
right,
constantly wasting my time. The only reason I'm passionate about it is just because I'm like, oh my god, like he's right, like he's true, he's right, and
right, no, no,
it's a real blessing to speak to you guys now, to get you guys on the channel, because the relationships and the similarities that all these people have got while being on the program is so enlightening and so interesting.
right,
It's just, yeah, we need to get this information out there to as many people as possible.
for sure.
um all right, I think let's just take one more question and we'll call it a day. So yeah, got two people here asking you, how long did it take you to get out of depersonalization?
I'd say 6 months, 6 months or so before I noticed a big difference. And to me, like I feel very good right now, very connected, very grounded. to earth again. And but to me, I keep seeing improvement. So I don't think that I'm to the finish line quite yet. I think that there's still a lot of areas where I'm still coming down from, and I, I'm excited to see what a year brings or another 2 years bring, because what I've felt and experienced in this year has been such a blessing to me, because I know where I was, and I know where I am now. So
All right, man. Awesome. Well, thanks a lot, Austin, for coming on. Like,
yeah,
really,
thanks, Lewis. This was
really
great.
appreciate it, man. It's good to chat to you and like really like inspired by your progress. I'm sure this video is going to help thousands of people in the future.
I
So,
hope
yeah.
so.
So it's goodbye from me. Goodbye from you, Austin.
See you guys later. Thank you so much, Lewis.
No worries, man. For anyone that's interested in nutritional balancing, please send me an email, lewis@depealingspace.com. If you've got a testimonial, if you're on the nutrition balancing program and you've got a testimonial and you want to come and share it with the world, please do. Please send me an email. I'd be more than happy to have you on the channel. It'd be super cool to hear from you. So brilliant. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.